The coffin appears impossibly tiny. That realization strikes me first as they lower my 8-year-old son Daniel into the earth. My final goodbye to him. Cannot make my hands stop shaking. I've attempted everything. Pressing them flat against my mourning clothes, locking my fingers together until they ache, hiding them deep in my coat pockets. None of it helps. Tears stream continuously down my face in silent paths that I've stopped trying to wipe away. Each grinding turn of the machinery lowering his coffin twists my insides, and my legs feel ready to collapse under me. The cemetery attendant glances my way, seeking confirmation that I'm prepared for this final moment. Such readiness will never come. 9 months earlier, medical professionals finally identified the disease draining my child's vitality. Uncommon blood condition, they explained, as though naming it could diminish its horror. Daniel accepted the diagnosis with more composure than I managed. His young face grave yet resolute as the physician outlined the therapy plan. "Will there be pain?" he inquired, his tone unwavering. "At times," the physician responded truthfully, "though we'll make every effort to ease it." Throughout 9 months of injections, transfusions, and medications with impossible pronunciations, he never voiced a complaint. Even during the fevers that left him trembling under hospital linens, he would meet my gaze with those eyes resembling his father's and reassure me. "I'm fine, Mama. Please don't worry." Now I'm standing by myself at his gravesite. Their absence creates a physical ache as acute as losing Daniel himself. My parents should be here supporting me. My sister Natalie promised her unwavering presence for us. Rebecca, my closest companion since elementary school, who comforted me during my marriage dissolution but failed to appear today. I retrieve my phone, a habitual motion I instantly wish I hadn't made. Natalie's social media profile appears automatically. Images from her celebration dinner at the Sterling Plaza Hotel fill my display. Happening at this precise moment. There she stands, raising a wine glass, her diamond catching light, our parents beaming at her side. The timestamp indicates it was shared 15 minutes ago, while I listened to the clergy offer words that couldn't possibly encompass who Daniel was. "Are you managing, sweetheart?" I glance up to find Dorothy, my senior neighbor, the sole person who attended today. Her aged hand rests softly on my forearm, her gaze filled with authentic compassion. Throughout 20 months, she delivered home-cooked dinners to our residents when exhaustion from hospital vigils left me unable to prepare meals. She remained with Daniel when I needed basic self-care. She never once regarded his condition as an imposition. "They're not here," I murmur, the words nearly inaudible. None of them came. I cannot stop recalling Daniel's genuine laughter from before the illness. How it would emerge from somewhere deep and uncontrollable. How at 6 years old he proclaimed his intention to become a physician who would help children facing similar challenges someday. How he insisted on wearing his comic book hero sleepwear to treatment sessions because heroes demonstrate courage even while frightened. "That child cherished you above everything," Dorothy speaks quietly. I acknowledge this, remembering how Marcus, my former spouse, had established a $900,000 education fund for Daniel before his corporation relocated him abroad. "Should anything occur," he'd stated, "you're designated as the alternative recipient. I trust you'll preserve his memory appropriately." He couldn't have anticipated how quickly those words would gain significance. Part of me wants to contact my parents and express my rage until my voice fails. How could they select Natalie's celebration dinner over their grandson's burial service? Another part feels too emotionally deadened to experience anything whatsoever. I've dedicated 20 months battling for my son's survival, resting in hospital recliners, absorbing medical vocabulary, advocating when physicians overlooked symptoms. Now there's nothing remaining to fight for. My phone vibrates with an incoming message. My mother's name displays on the screen. "We must discuss matters. Bring the fund documentation tomorrow." I stare at the message, reading it repeatedly to confirm my understanding. They skipped Daniel's burial service, yet they're interested in his educational fund. Something cold and calculating penetrates my sorrow for the first time today. Something feels wrong. I type back. I'm laying my son to rest today. I cannot address paperwork presently. Her reply arrives instantly. Stop being theatrical, Morgan. This concerns the entire family. The entire family. The identical family that couldn't allocate 2 hours to bid Daniel farewell. The truth of their intentions begins crystallizing. This transcends mere money. It involves the final thing remaining of my son. His legacy, the future he'll never experience. I understand with immediate clarity that I'm isolated in this struggle. My parents, Natalie, even Rebecca, they're coordinated, planning while I'm vulnerable and alone in my mourning. What schemes have they developed? For how long? Dorothy observes my distress. What's troubling you? I display my mother's message, watching her expression harden as she reads. Oh goodness, she murmurs softly. They cannot possibly believe. I power off my phone entirely. Whatever their desires, it can wait. This moment belongs to Daniel. I won't permit them to steal that from me as well. Dorothy places a comforting hand on my shoulder. You're not alone, sweetheart. I'm here. The cemetery attendant approaches cautiously. I apologize, but we must conclude the service. I look at Daniel's coffin, suspended above the opening in the earth. Am I expected to simply depart now? Abandon him here by himself? My body feels paralyzed, incapable of taking that initial step away. Dorothy moves forward. Allow her a moment, please. She's saying farewell to her child. The attendant nods and retreats, honoring the boundary Dorothy has established. I reach into my pocket and extract Daniel's cherished toy figure, the one he demanded to keep throughout every hospital stay. I kneel beside the grave and place it carefully atop his coffin. I'll safeguard what belongs to you. I give you my word, I whisper. As I rise, something transforms within me. Through the haze of grief, a small flame ignites. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I understand one thing with absolute certainty. They will not claim my son's legacy without opposition. The morning following the burial service arrives gray and misty, reflecting my state of mind as I drive to my parents' traditional-style residence in Riverside Gardens. I clutch the steering wheel excessively, my knuckles whitening with each mile nearer to their house. My throat tightens at the prospect of seeing them after yesterday, after they chose Natalie's celebration dinner over their own grandson's burial service. I park behind a recognizable silver sedan, Rebecca's vehicle. Naturally, she's present too. The entrance opens before I arrive at it. My father stands in the doorway, his face displaying rehearsed paternal worry that doesn't extend to his eyes. Morgan, please enter. We've been expecting you. The sitting room resembles a conference space. Natalie sits properly on the ivory sofa, ankles crossed, her auburn hair styled into a flawless twist. Rebecca positions herself beside her, examining her fingernails with sudden intensity when I appear. My mother stands near the fireplace, one hand resting on a framed photograph where we're all appearing happy, a performance for the camera. Nobody mentions Daniel. Nobody expresses regret. My father wastes no time. He approaches the wooden coffee table where a folder lies open, documents arranged in orderly stacks. We need to restructure the fund with Natalie as administrator. He declares, sliding paperwork toward me. Sign here and here. I don't reach for the writing instrument. What are you discussing? Natalie uncrosses her ankles and leans forward. Morgan, you're in no state to handle this magnitude of money. We're attempting to assist. My mother steps nearer, her voice sweetened with manufactured sympathy. You've always been careless with finances. Remember that boutique you wanted to launch after university? Thank heavens your father dissuaded you. I glance at Rebecca, hoping for some trace of the friendship we once shared. She meets my gaze briefly before looking elsewhere, her silence confirming her loyalty. We've already consulted with Marcus's attorney, my father says, tapping the papers. Given your emotional state, he concurs this is the sensible approach. The words strike like physical impacts. I pick up one document, recognizing legal terminology about mental capacity assessments. Another page captures my attention. Research on fund regulations dated 15 months ago when Daniel was initially hospitalized. You've been scheming this since Daniel became ill, I whisper, the realization searing through me. While I sat beside his hospital bed, you were investigating how to claim his money if he perished. Natalie sighs theatrically. You're exaggerating again. That's precisely why we're troubled. My father produces another document, sliding it across the table. If you decline to sign, we're prepared to file for guardianship. The court will comprehend that grief has impaired your judgment. The complete extent of their betrayal crystallizes. They dismissed Daniel's condition for 9 months, labeling me overprotective when I insisted something was gravely wrong. Now I comprehend why. They were positioning themselves throughout, anticipating the worst outcome. My reality shifts. Memory after memory realigns in this new illumination. My mother 11 months ago. It's likely just low iron, Morgan. You always create crises from minor issues. My father when Daniel required specialized therapy. These physicians are exploiting your nervousness. He simply needs supplements. Natalie refusing to visit him in the hospital. Hospitals are depressing. Besides, he's going to recover anyway. I notice a blueprint protruding from beneath the fund documents. I pull it free. Renovation plans for Natalie's new residence. A $220,000 kitchen renovation, a home cinema, a swimming pool with cascading water features. You never even visited him in the hospital, I say, my voice stabilizing with the clarity of anger. Not once in 9 months. Natalie tosses her head, impatient. We all process grief differently, Morgan. Some of us simply manage it better. The casual cruelty of her words stuns me. For the first time I perceive my family clearly, not as the loving support system I've desperately tried to believe in, but as individuals who view Daniel and me as accessories in their perfect family image, valuable only when convenient. Why now? Yes. Why the sudden urgency? Natalie exchanges glances with my parents. Something passes between them, a silent communication that excludes me as it always has. Fine. You deserve to know, Natalie says finally. Thomas's development firm is experiencing some liquidity issues. The wedding might require postponement unless we secure additional funding. My mother fidgets with her string of pearls. And there's the vacation property in Savannah Bay. The market shifted and we're somewhat overextended. We're not villains, Morgan, my father says, his tone softening to the one he uses when negotiating business deals. We're family facing challenging circumstances. Rebecca finally speaks, her voice small. My divorce will be finalized next month. Natalie promised me a position at Thomas's firm. I need this, Morgan. I have the boys to consider. I see them now, not cartoon villains, but frightened individuals willing to sacrifice me to maintain their lifestyles, their status, their comfort. If you don't sign, we'll have to take more severe measures, my father warns, his kindly mask slipping. My mother reaches for my hand. After everything we've done for you and Daniel all these years. I almost laugh. What exactly have they done? Sent birthday cards with $20 bills. Called monthly to ask superficial questions about our lives. Don't make this more difficult than necessary, my father says, voice hardening. Natalie checks her timepiece. We need this resolved within 60 days before Thomas's next project financing deadline. The desperation in their eyes reveals everything. They need Daniel's money, my money now, to solve their problems. I stand, gather the documents, and place them back in the folder. I need time to consider, I say, heading for the door. Morgan. My father's voice carries the sharp edge I remember from childhood arguments. Don't walk away from this table. I close the entrance behind me with quiet finality. In my vehicle, I press my forehead against the steering wheel, overwhelmed by what just transpired. My phone vibrates with a message from Dorothy. How did it go? I'm here if you need to talk. Before I can respond, another call comes through. Marcus's parents. I answer with trembling hands. Morgan dear. Elizabeth's voice is warm with genuine concern. We just heard about the service. We're so sorry we couldn't be there. We were abroad and just received the news. We loved that child so much, Thomas adds, his voice breaking. Their grief sounds real, their concern authentic, unlike the calculated performance I just witnessed from my family. As I disconnect, I recall something Marcus mentioned when establishing Daniel's fund. If you ever have questions, contact William Patterson. He's the finest trust attorney in the state. For the first time today, I feel a flicker of hope. I'm not alone in this fight. Dorothy, who witnessed how I cared for Daniel every day. Marcus's parents, who loved him without condition. William Patterson, who knows exactly what Marcus intended for Daniel's money. I start the car, my decision made. I won't attempt to fight this battle alone. I reach for my phone and find William Patterson's number in my contacts. Mr. Patterson's office. A receptionist answers. I need to speak with him immediately, I say, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. It's about the Daniel Harris Trust. That same day, the law office of William Patterson gleamed with polished wood and leather-bound volumes. I clutch my folder of documents so tightly my knuckles turn white. After 2 sleepless nights researching trust law online, I'm still uncertain what rights I have or how my family could attempt to take Daniel's legacy from me. William rises from behind his oak desk when his assistant shows me in. He's older than I expected, with silver hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. His handshake is firm, his eyes kind but assessing. Mrs. Harris, please have a seat. I'm very sorry about your son. Thank you. My voice catches. I've heard those words dozens of times in the past week, but his tone carries genuine empathy rather than obligation. I slide the folder across his desk. These are all the documents I have about Daniel's trust. My former husband, Marcus, set it up before his company transferred him overseas. William opens the folder, scanning the contents with practiced efficiency. He nods occasionally, pausing to read certain sections more carefully. The silence stretches until I can't bear it. My family wants me to sign over control of the trust. They claim I'm not mentally stable enough to manage it because of my grief. The words taste bitter on my tongue. They didn't even come to Daniel's burial service. William looks up sharply. They didn't attend the service. No. My sister Natalie had her celebration dinner the same day. My parents and my former best friend Rebecca chose to go to that instead. He removes his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. I remember when Marcus set up this trust. He was very specific about his intentions. William opens his desk drawer and pulls out a manila folder with Marcus's name on the tab. My breath catches. I wasn't expecting him to have separate records. Marcus was exceptionally thorough, William explains, extracting a notarized document. This is his statement of intent for the trust. He hands me the paper and I read Marcus's familiar handwriting. This trust is to secure Daniel's future, and if the worst happens, to provide for Morgan, who sacrificed everything for his care. Tears blur my vision. Even from across the ocean, Marcus had prepared for this possibility. Had seen what I couldn't bear to acknowledge. There's more, William says, turning his computer monitor so I can see it. These are phone records from our office over the past year. The spreadsheet shows multiple calls from numbers I recognize immediately. My parents' landline and Natalie's cell phone. They contacted you about Daniel's trust? My voice sharpens. Not me specifically. They called asking about trust provisions and beneficiary laws. My assistant flagged it because she recognized the names from Marcus's file. They never actually spoke to an attorney here. A clarity cuts through my grief for the first time in days. They knew about the trust terms before Daniel died. That's why they've been planning this. It appears so, William says, his expression hardening. Mrs. Harris, I want to be very clear about something. This trust has explicit provisions preventing family interference. Marcus built in multiple layers of protection specifically to ensure the funds would go to Daniel, or to you as the residual beneficiary. They have no legal standing to challenge this. The trust is ironclad. The weight pressing on my chest lightens slightly. So they can't take it. Not legally, no. But they might try other tactics. Claiming you're mentally unfit due to grief, for instance. I think of my mother's dismissive text message at the service, Natalie's cold calculation, my father's uncomfortable silence as they presented papers for me to sign. So I don't need to fight them for the trust, I say slowly, the pieces coming together. I just need to prove their intentions. William's eyes narrow thoughtfully. That would certainly strengthen your position. Do you have any documentation of their attempts to gain control? I pull out my phone, showing him my mother's text messages from the service day. His eyebrows rise as he reads. This is extremely helpful, he says. Now, I suggest we arrange a meeting with your family. On your terms, in a public place. 2 days later, I sit at a corner table in Waterfront Cafe. A manila envelope placed deliberately in front of me. The shop bustles with afternoon customers. Exactly as I'd hoped. William's advice echoes in my mind. Public places discourage scenes. Control the narrative from the beginning. Dorothy waits in her car across the street, ready if I need backup. William is on standby for a call. For the first time since Daniel's diagnosis, I don't feel completely alone. My family arrives together. Natalie leading the procession in designer sunglasses, my parents following like attendants, Rebecca trailing behind, avoiding my eyes. They take seats around the table without ordering drinks, clearly expecting this to be brief. Natalie immediately reaches for the manila envelope. So you've signed the papers. I knew you'd be reasonable. I place my hand firmly on the envelope. Before we discuss any papers, I want to know why none of you came to Daniel's burial service. My mother sighs dramatically. Morgan, we've been through this. Natalie's celebration was planned months ago. We couldn't cancel everything on such short notice. It was your grandson's service, I say quietly. And we grieved in our own way, my father replies, glancing nervously at nearby tables. Everyone processes loss differently. I open the envelope and slide out several photos, screenshots from Natalie's social media, time-stamped during Daniel's service. Wine glasses raised, diamond ring flashing, everyone laughing. While I was burying my son, you were drinking wine and laughing. My voice remains steady, but people at nearby tables glance over. Natalie's face flushes. You're taking those out of context. That's not fair. I pull out a second document from the envelope, the notarized trust terms with no amendment without grant consent, highlighted in yellow. Marcus made his intentions very clear. This money is Daniel's legacy to me. My father reaches for the papers. Let me see that. I pull them back before he can grab them. I've spoken with William Patterson. He has Marcus's original statement of intent. The trust cannot be modified, transferred, or accessed by anyone but me. Natalie's carefully composed expression cracks. You don't deserve that money. You'll just waste it. Her voice carries. Several customers turn to stare. Lower your voice, my mother hisses. Why? Ask, looking directly at Natalie. Are you worried people will hear how you tried to take advantage of your grieving sister? How you couldn't be bothered to attend your nephew's service but want his education fund? Natalie stands abruptly. This is ridiculous. We're trying to help you. I don't need your kind of help, I say, gathering the papers back into the envelope. I'm not signing anything. Ever. My father leans forward, voice low and threatening. You're making a mistake, Morgan. We can make things very difficult for you. You already have, I reply, standing. My entire life. But not anymore. I walk out, feeling their stares burning into my back. Outside, Dorothy waits in her car, window rolled down. When I slide into the passenger seat, she gives me a proud smile. You stood up to them. Good for you. My phone rings. William calling for an update. How did it go? He asks when I answer. Do we need to prepare for immediate legal action? I describe the confrontation while Dorothy drives us away from the cafe. William listens carefully, then confirms we're in a strong position legally. They'll likely try something else, he warns. But you've established boundaries, which is critical. After we hang up, another call comes through. Marcus's parents. They offered to fly in from Nevada to testify about Marcus's intentions if needed. We always knew Daniel's care was your priority, Marcus's mother says. We'll support you however we can. A text message follows from Kevin, my former co-worker who visited Daniel regularly during his hospital stays. Dorothy told me what's happening. Whatever you need, I'm here. For the first time in weeks, I feel the weight on my chest lighten. I'm not fighting alone anymore. In Dorothy's driveway, I take a moment before getting out of the car. I touch Daniel's photo on my dashboard. His last school picture taken before he got sick. His smile still radiant with hope. First step done, buddy, I whisper. Dorothy squeezes my hand. You did wonderfully today. I nod, staring at the horizon. But they won't give up easily. They'll try something bigger next. And we'll be ready, Dorothy says firmly. You're not alone anymore, Morgan. I take a deep breath, feeling something unfamiliar building inside me. Not just grief, not just anger, but resolve. They couldn't be bothered to say goodbye to my son. They won't get to decide what happens to his legacy. 3 days after the cafe confrontation, I spread documents across William Patterson's oak desk, my hands steady as I arrange them into neat piles. Grief still pulses beneath my skin, but something else has emerged alongside it. A cold, clear objectivity that surprises me with its intensity. They'll file for guardianship, William says, tapping a finger against a legal brief. His office smells of leather and old books, the kind of place where battles are planned rather than fought. They'll try to prove you're mentally unfit due to grief. It's their clearest path to the trust. I nod, studying the timeline I've created. 20 months of Daniel's illness mapped out in excruciating detail. Natalie never does her own dirty work. She'll use Mom and Dad as the petitioners. Maybe even Rebecca. Smart observation, William says, genuine respect in his voice. We need to document every interaction since Daniel's diagnosis. Every hospital visit you made, every appointment they missed. I pull out my phone, opening my calendar. I have records of all appointments. I can prove I never missed a single one. My voice catches slightly. Not even the day after Marcus left for abroad. William makes a note. And your parents? Natalie. 0 visits. Not when he was diagnosed. Not during the 4 weeks he spent in isolation after the bone marrow treatment failed. The memory stings, but I push through it. Not even when the doctors told us there was nothing more they could do. Document it all, William says. We don't move yet. We prepare. We gather evidence. We anticipate their attack. When they come, and they will, we'll be ready. I run my finger along a hospital bill, remembering how I'd learned to decipher medical codes and challenge insurance denials. How I became Daniel's advocate when no one else would. 9 months of treatments and not one visit from them. Not one. William leans forward. Morgan, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about proving you're mentally competent. It's about proving they never cared about Daniel. Only his money. The words hurt, but the truth in them steadies me. Then that's exactly what we'll prove. Over the next hour, we sort through financial statements showing my meticulous handling of Daniel's medical expenses. William brings in a notary to witness my signing of affidavits. The preparation feels like building armor. Each document another plate of protection around Daniel's legacy. They'll claim your grief makes you unstable, William warns. We need to counter that narrative before they can establish it. Dorothy has kept a journal, I say, surprising myself with this knowledge. She documented every time she helped with Daniel during his illness. She told me yesterday. William nods approvingly. Perfect. A neutral third party's observations will carry significant weight. Pull out my notebook. I've also contacted Daniel's primary oncologist and his school teacher. Both are willing to provide character statements. Excellent, William says. Now, what about Marcus? His intention when creating the trust could be crucial. I called his parents last night. They're coordinating with his attorney to document his original intentions. The words come easily now, each strategic move clear in my mind. And I've installed security cameras at my house. If they try to confront me again, it'll be documented. William makes a note. I'm consulting with Dr. Sarah Chen tomorrow. She's a psychiatric expert who can evaluate you and counter any mental fitness challenges they might bring. I hesitate before sharing my next thought. I've been collecting screenshots. Every time they dismissed Daniel's illness as nothing serious. Every text where they claimed I was overreacting. My voice hardens. They created a pattern of minimizing his condition while simultaneously planning to take his trust fund. That's exactly the kind of evidence we need, William says quietly. Not just to defend you, but to expose their motives. I stare out his office window at the autumn leaves dancing across the parking lot. Daniel loved fall. The colors, the smell of cinnamon, the way leaves crunched beneath his feet. Last October, I'd wheeled him outside the hospital just so he could feel the crisp air on his face. Are you all right? William asked. Just remembering, I say, returning to the present. What else do we need? As William outlines our next steps, my phone buzzes with a text from Dorothy. Just heard from Linda at the hospital. Rebecca was asking questions about Daniel's treatment schedule. Be careful. My stomach tightens. I show William the message. They're gathering ammunition, he says grimly. Rebecca would have access to information about when you were at the hospital, your emotional state during treatment. Pauses. She's signed something, hasn't she? The realization hits me like a physical blow. An affidavit claiming I was unstable during Daniel's illness. William's silence confirms my suspicion. She was my friend since elementary school, I whisper, the betrayal cutting deeper than I expected. She held my hand through my divorce. Natalie is recruiting anyone with inside knowledge of your life, William says gently. It raises the threat level considerably. I remember now, Rebecca's increasingly infrequent visits as Daniel's condition worsened. Her uncomfortable expression when I broke down after a particularly devastating prognosis, the way she'd stopped meeting my eyes in those final weeks. She'll claim she witnessed erratic behavior, I say, my voice hollow. And she wouldn't be entirely wrong. I did fall apart sometimes. Who wouldn't? For the first time since our strategy session began, doubt creeps in. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am falling apart. I glance at my trembling hands. Look at me. Don't, William says firmly. This is exactly what they want, to make you doubt yourself. My phone buzzes again. Dorothy texting that she's coming by William's office, that she's found her journals and I need to see them. 30 minutes later, Dorothy walks in carrying a stack of notebooks. Her silver hair is neatly pinned back, her eyes fierce with protective energy. Rebecca can say whatever she wants, Dorothy announces, placing the journals on William's desk. But I documented everything. Every day you spent at that hospital. Every night you sat up with Daniel when he couldn't sleep. Every meal I brought because you wouldn't leave his side. She takes my hands in hers. Don't let them make you doubt yourself, Morgan. That's exactly what they want. The warmth of her hands steadies mine. I look from Dorothy to William, then to the mountain of evidence we've accumulated. My son's legacy protected by truth, documented fact by documented fact. You're right, I say, straightening my shoulders. I need to prepare for character assassination, not just legal challenges. As I organize Dorothy's journals into our evidence pile, I realize we're building more than a legal defense. We're creating a monument to the truth of who really stood by Daniel when it mattered, and who didn't. Later that evening, after Dorothy left, my hands shook as I taped the last photo to the evidence board in William's office. It shows my parents at Natalie's celebration dinner, wine glasses raised in celebration exactly 38 minutes after Daniel's coffin was lowered into the ground. That's the final piece, William says, stepping back to survey our work. The conference room wall has transformed into a comprehensive timeline of betrayal. Medical records showing every appointment I attended, financial statements proving responsible management of Daniel's medical expenses, witness statements from hospital staff, neighbors, and Daniel's teachers, a documented 20-month absence of my family during Daniel's illness. Will it be enough? I ask, straightening a document that details Natalie's unauthorized access to Daniel's medical files. William adjusts his glasses, his expression serious but confident. They'll file for emergency guardianship, claiming you're mentally unfit. But we've anticipated every argument they could make. He taps the notarized statement from Marcus's parents. This alone makes their position legally tenuous. I trace my finger along the timeline we've created. 9 months of hospital visits, countless nights sleeping in uncomfortable chairs beside Daniel's bed, the treatments, the hopes, the setbacks, all documented with meticulous care. I never thought I'd need to prove I was a good mother, I whisper. You shouldn't have to, William says, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. But people who want what isn't theirs will create whatever narrative serves them. As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a text from Dorothy. I read it aloud. 28 neighbors signed the character petition. A small victory, but each one strengthens our position. I've spent the past week gathering an arsenal of truth against my family's inevitable attack. Security cameras now monitor my home, recording any uninvited visits. I've documented every text, every voicemail, every social media post where Natalie subtly questions my mental state. They're painting me as unstable, I say, staring at Natalie's recent post asking for prayers for family members struggling with mental health issues after loss. The comment section overflows with sympathetic responses, none mentioning that she didn't attend her nephew's service. William nods grimly. Classic strategy. They can't win on legal grounds, so they're trying to win in the court of public opinion first. The phone on his desk rings. William answers, his expression darkening as he listens. I see. Thank you for letting us know. He hangs up and turns to me. That was my contact at Regional Hospital. Someone requested Daniel's complete medical records yesterday. My stomach drops. Who? Natalie used an old emergency contact form to gain access. The room seems to tilt slightly. They'll twist everything, I say, my voice rising. They'll find the one time I questioned a medication dosage or got emotional with a nurse and use it to make me look incompetent. They're getting desperate, William says. This confidentiality breach shows how far they're willing to go. I grip the edge of the table to steady myself. What else are they doing that we don't know about? William opens his laptop. Let's find out. He types quickly, then turns the screen toward me. They've been calling your former colleagues at the advertising agency. A message from my old supervisor appears. Morgan, your sister called asking about your emotional stability during your employment. What's going on? Call me. They're building a case against me on every front, I say, the anger finally breaking through my grief. They're trying to erase everything I did for Daniel. William closes the laptop. We need to add a defamation counterclaim to our strategy. This goes beyond the trust. Now they're attacking your reputation. I think of Daniel's brave face during treatments, how he never complained even on his worst days. If my 8-year-old could face down death with courage, I can face down my family with the same resolve. Let them try, I say, my voice steadier than it's been in weeks. We have something they don't. What's that? William asks. The truth, I answer, turning back to our evidence board. Every moment I spent with Daniel, every decision I made for him, every sacrifice, it's all here. They can't erase that. William nods approvingly. I'll update our legal response package to include their recent actions. By nightfall, we've refined our strategy, accounting for Natalie's escalating tactics. William confirms. Our legal response is complete. Character witnesses prepared. Evidence organized, counterclaims ready. Dorothy calls as I'm driving home. The security system is working perfectly, she tells me. I tested it once again while you were gone. Thank you, I say, feeling a rush of gratitude for this woman who's become more family to me than my actual relatives. Marcus's parents arrive tomorrow. They're bringing documentation about the trust's original purpose. You've done everything possible to protect Daniel's legacy, Dorothy says firmly. Now we wait for them to make their move. As I pull into my driveway, I realize something has shifted inside me. The paralyzing grief hasn't disappeared, but it's been joined by something else. A fierce, protective anger that burns away the fog of despair. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm angry and I'm ready. The next morning, the sheriff's knock hits like a hammer. When I open the door, his face is professionally blank as he extends a thick manila envelope. Morgan Harris, you've been served. My fingers tremble as I take it. The weight feels wrong, too heavy for mere paper, too light for the destruction it contains. The sheriff tips his hat and leaves while I stand frozen in my doorway, the envelope burning against my skin. Inside, I spread the documents across my kitchen table and scan the heading, Emergency Petition for Guardianship. My stomach lurches. They're not just coming for Daniel's money anymore. They want control of me. The phone rings. William. They filed, I say, my voice hollow. I know. Just got the notification. How are you holding up? I stare at the affidavit attached to the petition. Rebecca's signature jumps out first. 3 pages detailing every moment of weakness she witnessed during Daniel's illness. Times I forgot to eat. The night I sobbed uncontrollably in the hospital hallway. The morning I couldn't remember if I'd taken my own medication. They've twisted everything, I whisper. They quoted his medical records, things I told the doctors in confidence. Natalie shouldn't have had access to those files, William says, his voice hardening. That's our countermove. The hospital ethics committee is already investigating. I flip to the next page. Financial statements showing my depleted savings account. 20 months without steady income while caring for Daniel had drained everything. They've highlighted every overdraft fee, every late payment, presenting it as evidence of financial irresponsibility, rather than the reality of a mother spending everything to save her son. The hearing is tomorrow, William says. We knew this was coming. We're ready. But I'm not sure I am. This isn't just about money anymore. They're trying to take away my autonomy, my dignity, my very identity as a competent adult. The document before me paints a picture of a woman falling apart, unable to make rational decisions, a danger to herself without proper supervision. Have you seen the newspaper? William asks quietly. I pull up the local news website on my phone. There they are. My parents, sitting in their immaculate living room, sorrow etched into their carefully composed expressions. The headline makes me nauseous. Family seeks help for grieving mother. My father's quote appears in bold. This breaks our hearts, but we have to protect her from herself. I switch to social media and find Natalie's carefully crafted post, a throwback photo of us as children, her arm around my shoulders. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is step in when someone you love is suffering. Please keep our family in your thoughts during this difficult time. #mental health awareness, #family first. The comment section overflows with support for them. People who don't know us don't know Daniel, offering prayers and praise for their bravery in helping me. They've already tried and convicted me in the court of public opinion, I say. Courts don't decide cases based on social media likes, William replies. I've filed our counter-petition. Marcus's parents arrived this morning. They're ready to testify about his intentions for the trust. The Hospital Ethics Committee has issued a formal statement about the unauthorized access to Daniel's records. I touch the silver locket around my neck, feeling Daniel's photo inside. What if it's not enough? It will be, William says with quiet confidence. Dorothy has more than 30 neighbors coming to support you. Your former supervisor has submitted a statement about your professionalism. And Dr. Martinez, Daniel's primary physician, has provided an affidavit praising your medical decision-making throughout his treatment. My phone pings with a text from Dorothy. We're all set for tomorrow. The whole block is behind you. For the first time since receiving the sheriff's papers, I feel something beyond fear, a spark of determination fueled by the absurdity of their claims. They weren't there, any of them. Not for one chemotherapy treatment, not for one blood transfusion, not for one night when Daniel's fever spiked to 105 and I thought I might lose him right there in the pediatric oncology unit. I've also submitted the security footage, William continues, showing Natalie and your mother trying to enter your house last week when you were meeting with me. I remember coming home to find the doorbell camera notification, watching the recording of them testing doorknobs, peering through windows. We're hitting back with everything, William says. The restraining order request has been included in our counter-petition. I look at the documents spread across my table, their lies printed on legal letterhead, made official with court stamps and case numbers. Tomorrow, a judge will read these words and make decisions about my life based on them. Get some rest, William advises. Tomorrow's going to be intense. But rest doesn't come. I'm reviewing my testimony for the fourth time when the doorbell camera alert flashes on my phone at 9:43 p.m. Natalie stands on my porch alone. I consider ignoring her, but something tells me to face this. I activate the recording function on my phone before opening the door, keeping the security chain latched. What do you want, Natalie? She looks different than at the cafe confrontation. Softer somehow, her expression concerned rather than confrontational. If I didn't know better, I might believe she actually cares. Can I come in? Just to talk? She asks, her voice gentle. No. Her shoulders drop slightly. Morgan, please. This doesn't have to be so public, so ugly. You made it public when you gave that interview. You made it ugly when you accessed Daniel's private medical records. Natalie glances toward the security camera, clearly aware she's being recorded. I'm offering you one last chance to avoid public embarrassment. Drop your opposition to the guardianship petition. Sign over control of the trust to me as administrator. We'll withdraw the petition and no one ever has to know about your episodes. The word hangs between us like poison. Episodes. The night you called Rebecca at 3 in the morning, hysterical about Daniel's breathing. The time the hospital nearly called child services because you couldn't remember when he'd last taken his medication. Her voice remains sympathetic, but her eyes are cold. We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. I feel a strange calm settling over me. I think you should leave now, Natalie. Her mask slips then. Just for a moment, but it's enough. Rage flashes across her features before she composes herself. You think you deserve that money. You were always the burden, the problem child, the disappointment. She leans closer to the door. We carried you your entire life. Now it's time you did something for this family. I close the door without another word, my hand steady for the first time today. I immediately call William, forwarding him the recording. Perfect, he says after listening. Her mask finally slipped. This is exactly what we needed. It's past midnight when Dorothy arrives with an overnight bag. I thought you could use some company, she says, setting a thermos of tea on my kitchen table. Thank you, I whisper, unsure if I can explain how much her presence means. Tomorrow we show them what real strength looks like, she says, squeezing my hand. My phone lights up with a text from William. Everything is ready. Marcus believed in you. So do we. I can't sleep, so I sit in Daniel's room instead, holding his favorite stuffed dinosaur. The glow-in-the-dark stars we stuck to his ceiling still shine faintly. I take out my locket and open it to see his smiling face. Tomorrow is for you, buddy, I whisper to his photo. For your legacy. For the first time since the sheriff knocked on my door, I feel something beyond fear or determination. Feel ready. The next morning, I enter the courtroom with my head high, flanked by William, Dorothy, and Marcus's parents. The polished wood and solemn atmosphere remind me of a church, a temple where truth should matter more than performance. Natalie, my parents, and Rebecca sit on the opposite side, their faces arranged in expressions of practiced concern. My stomach knots as I take my seat. It's been 48 hours since the sheriff served me with papers claiming I'm mentally unfit to manage my own affairs, let alone my son's legacy. William squeezes my arm gently as we settle at the defendant's table. All rise for the Honorable Judge Catherine Morrison. A stern-faced woman in her 60s enters, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. She reviews the emergency petition with narrowed eyes before addressing the courtroom. These are serious allegations. I expect both sides to present evidence, not emotion. Her gaze sweeps across both tables. Mr. Blackwell, you may begin for the petitioners. My family's attorney rises, his expensive suit and confident posture reflecting their certainty they'll win. Your Honor, this is a case of a family desperately trying to help a daughter and sister who is spiraling after an unimaginable loss. He walks toward the bench, presenting documents with practiced solemnity. Mrs. Harris has exhibited concerning behavior since her son's passing: erratic financial decisions, isolation, refusal to accept help from those who love her most. I clench my fists under the table as he continues, painting me as unstable and dangerous to myself and Daniel's money. When Rebecca takes the stand, my chest tightens. Morgan changed during Daniel's illness, she testifies, avoiding my eyes. She became obsessive about treatments, paranoid that doctors were missing something. She'd call me at 3 in the morning, hysterical. The memory of those nights slashes through me, sitting beside Daniel's hospital bed, terrified as his fever spiked, reaching out to someone I thought was my friend. My isolation wasn't paranoia. It was abandonment by the people testifying against me now. My mother takes the stand next, dabbing at tears that appear on command. We're heartbroken watching her self-destruct. This isn't about money. It's about protecting our daughter when she can't protect herself. The judge's expression softens at my mother's performance. A cold wave of fear washes over me. She's buying their act. Then William stands, and everything shifts. Your Honor, what we're witnessing today is not concern, but calculation. His voice fills the courtroom with quiet authority. Mrs. Harris hasn't self-destructed. She's been systematically targeted by family members who abandoned her during her son's illness, but suddenly appeared when they learned of his trust fund. He begins methodically dismantling their case, presenting complete hospital records that chronicle every appointment I attended, every treatment decision I researched and approved, every night I slept in a hospital chair. Now I'd like to call Ms. Jennifer Reynolds, Hospital Records Administrator. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes takes the stand and confirms what William suspected. Our system shows Ms. Natalie Harris accessed Daniel's complete medical records 2 weeks ago using an outdated emergency contact form. This constitutes a serious privacy violation. Natalie shifts uncomfortably in her seat as whispers ripple through the courtroom. Dorothy testifies next, her steady voice carrying decades of wisdom. I watched Morgan care for that child every single day. When he couldn't keep food down, she researched what might help and stayed up learning to prepare meals that wouldn't make him sick. When he was scared about treatments, she created superhero stories to help him understand what was happening. Her eyes find mine. I never once saw her falter. Marcus's father, Thomas, takes the stand next. Though we've never been close, his testimony is clear and certain. My son established this trust with explicit instructions. He told me, "Dad, if anything happens to Daniel, Morgan gets everything." She sacrificed her career, her savings, everything to give him the best care possible. She'll honor his memory better than anyone. The judge's expression has changed, her eyes sharper, more focused on my family now. Your Honor, William says, I'd like to present one more piece of evidence. He plays the security recording from last night, Natalie's unannounced visit to my home. Her voice fills the courtroom. We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. My calm response follows. I think you should leave now, Natalie. Natalie's true colors emerge in her next words. You think you deserve that money? You were always the burden. My sister's face flushes deep red. My mother's hand flies to her mouth. My father stares straight ahead, his jaw tight. The judge calls a 15-minute recess. When she returns, Natalie attempts to speak, but Judge Morrison silences her with a sharp gesture. Mr. Patterson, do you have additional evidence? William nods. One final exhibit, Your Honor. He plays an audio recording from our cafe meeting. The voices are crystal clear. My mother. Once the guardianship is approved, we can settle Natalie's mortgage situation. Natalie. And the beach house repairs. The contractor needs $60,000 by next month. My father. Once we have guardianship, we can use the money however we want. Morgan won't have any say. The courtroom falls silent. My family's attorney shifts papers aimlessly, clearly unprepared for this revelation. Judge Morrison calls another brief recess. When she returns, her expression has hardened into granite. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony in this matter. This court finds no basis whatsoever for the emergency guardianship petition. In fact, what I see is deeply disturbing. A coordinated attempt to exploit a grieving mother for financial gain. Natalie starts to protest, but the judge cuts her off. Ms. Natalie Harris, I strongly suggest you remain silent. This court dismisses the petition with prejudice, meaning the petitioners cannot refile on these grounds. Furthermore, I am ordering an investigation into possible perjury by Rebecca Bennett and Charles and Ellen Harris, whose testimonies directly contradict documented evidence. The judge continues, each word hitting like a hammer blow. I am granting an immediate restraining order prohibiting all petitioners from contacting Morgan Harris. The trust will be unfrozen immediately and secured against further challenges. Mrs. Harris, the judge says, looking directly at me, this court finds you have acted with remarkable strength and clarity during an unimaginable loss. Your son would be proud of how you've protected his legacy. My parents and Natalie rise, attempting to approach me, but a bailiff steps between us, enforcing the new restraining order. William turns to me, his professional demeanor softening. The system worked today, Morgan. Justice was done. Dorothy's eyes shine with tears. Daniel would be so proud of you, dear. Marcus's parents embrace me, his mother whispering, "You've honored our grandson and our son today." As I leave the courtroom, I touch Daniel's photo in my locket. The small silver frame holds his last school picture, grinning despite having lost his hair to chemotherapy. His eyes bright with a determination that carried him through 20 months of fighting. Reporters wait outside, microphones extended. A month ago, I would have ducked my head and hurried past. Today I stop. "Mrs. Harris, how do you feel about the court's decision?" I straighten my shoulders, feeling stronger than I have since the day we received Daniel's diagnosis. Today, justice was done for my son. As cameras flash, I walk toward the future Daniel would have wanted for me. One where his memory isn't just preserved, but honored through strength he helped me discover. The trust fund isn't just money. It's his legacy, and I've proven worthy of protecting it. The financial advisor slides a folder across his oak desk. These investment options would create sustainable funding for the scholarship program while preserving the principal, he explains. I study the numbers, no longer intimidated by financial jargon. 1 week since the hearing and already the world feels different. The Pediatric Hematology Fellowship needs to be fully funded, I say, tapping the proposal. That's non-negotiable. The advisor nods, making notes. And the restraining order, holding firm. They can't come within 1,500 feet. My voice doesn't waver anymore when I mention my family. Strange how quickly family has become an administrative term rather than an emotional one. The local paper published a front-page story yesterday. "Mother vindicated in trust battle." I've received dozens of supportive calls and messages. Even Natalie's fiancé called to apologize before announcing their engagement was off. My parents face possible perjury charges, and Rebecca was terminated after her recorded testimony circulated through her workplace. When I leave the advisor's office, Dorothy waits in her ancient sedan, window rolled down despite the autumn chill. "All set?" she asks. I slide into the passenger seat, remembering all those rides to and from the hospital with Daniel. How Dorothy would bring thermoses of homemade soup when cafeteria food became unbearable. How she'd sit with him while I showered or napped. Never thought I could do this, I admit as we drive. Stand up to them, create something lasting. Dorothy pats my hand. "I knew from the moment you placed that toy figure in his grave and made that promise." That night, I sleep peacefully for the first time since Daniel's diagnosis. No nightmares of hospital corridors or beeping machines. Instead, I dream of Daniel laughing, whole and strong, running through sunlit fields. William calls the next morning. The foundation paperwork is filed. The trust is locked down tight. Not even the Supreme Court could touch it now. My neighbors organize a meal train. Every evening, someone appears at my door with casseroles, soups, fresh bread. Small kindnesses that would have overwhelmed me with gratitude before but now feel like confirmation of something I'm slowly beginning to understand. Family isn't always blood. I pull out a photo of Daniel. Not a hospital photo, but one from before at the beach. His smile wide beneath a baseball cap. For the first time, I can look at it without dissolving into tears. "I know what to do with your legacy now, buddy," I whisper. 6 months later, I stand in the pediatric blood disorder unit where Daniel spent so many hours. The walls are brighter now, painted with ocean scenes that Daniel would have loved. A plaque beside the nurse's station reads, "Daniel Harris Memorial Wing." A young nurse approaches, extending her hand. I'm Amanda Torres, the first Daniel Harris Scholar. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to specialize in pediatric hematology. Daniel would have been thrilled, I say, and realize I'm smiling as I speak about him. Not the tight, painful smile of someone holding back tears, but a genuine expression of joy at his memory. He wanted to be a doctor himself someday. The foundation is making such a difference, Amanda says. 5 families have received emergency housing assistance already. The Daniels Legacy Foundation now supports families facing the same battles we fought, covering expenses insurance won't, providing emergency housing near hospitals, funding specialized training for pediatric nurses. Each board meeting brings new possibilities for expanding our reach. Dorothy serves as volunteer coordinator, organizing a network of people who provide meals, transportation, and childcare for families with hospitalized children. William handles all legal matters pro bono, ensuring the foundation's stability. You've created something beautiful from something tragic, Marcus's mother tells me during her monthly visit. She and her husband have become grandparent advocates, helping other grandparents navigate the medical system when their grandchildren fall ill. I find myself speaking at support groups, mentoring parents new to the terrifying world of childhood chronic illness. The first step is believing you can do this, I tell them. The second is knowing you don't have to do it alone. My voice no longer shakes when I speak in public. My hands no longer tremble when I sign documents. The woman who stood frozen at her son's grave has become someone else entirely. Someone stronger, someone Daniel would be proud of. 1 year to the day after Daniel's service, I return to the cemetery. The path feels different under my feet, no longer a march toward unbearable grief, but a purposeful visit to a place of connection. I place fresh flowers by his headstone, tracing the letters of his name with my finger. The morning sun warms the granite. "Excuse me," a voice calls. A woman approaches with a little girl around 6, holding her hand. "Are you Morgan Harris?" I nod, standing to greet them. "I'm Christine Lopez. This is my daughter, Sophia." The woman's eyes shine with unshed tears. "Sophia was diagnosed with the same condition as your son last year. The specialist funded by your scholarship program found a treatment protocol that worked when nothing else would. Your son's legacy saved my daughter's life." Sophia steps forward, shy but determined. "Thank you for helping me get better." I kneel to her level, seeing in her face the future Daniel never had. "You're very welcome, Sophia." Standing again, I share Daniel's story, not with pain but with pride. "Fighting for his legacy transformed me," I explain. "I found strength I never knew I had." Christine listens intently. "The foundation is expanding." "Yes, we're funding research into rare blood disorders starting next quarter. Dorothy's joining the board officially, and William's structuring the research grants. Marcus's parents are heading up the grandparent advocacy program." When they leave, I reach into my pocket and pull out Daniel's favorite toy figure, the same one I'd placed in his grave a year ago. The cemetery attendant had retrieved it for me after the service, understanding my immediate regret at parting with it. I place it gently against his headstone. "I kept my promise, Daniel. Your legacy is safe and growing stronger every day." Standing in the same spot where I once felt utterly abandoned, I'm surrounded by the presence of those who've become my true family, not bound by blood, but by something stronger: choice, loyalty, and love. "The family that matters isn't always the one you're born into," I say softly to Daniel. "It's the one that stands beside you when you need them most." As I walk back to my car, the morning sun warm on my face, I realize something profound. Sometimes the deepest betrayal leads to the most powerful transformation. I'm not just surviving now. I'm honoring the brave child who taught me what strength really means.